today was a fire drill. It was supposed to be, they had a fire drill and also a gun armed drill supposed to be today. And supposedly the shooter is a kid. He was wearing a black vest with a red shirt. I overheard the cops talking on the radio. And he's at the 1200 building. He's wearing a red shirt with a black vest.
Can you tell us again, when did you realize that there was an issue?
So it was the first fire drill that happened this morning. It was the first fire drill this morning. And then there was a second one, and we were all thinking, oh, it's either a real fire drill or they're just doing this again on accident. And then they taught us, they said that if there's a fire drill, they want all the kids to run out, so that would make it easier. Everybody just starts pushing each other, running, and then we're kind of just like, is this what's happening? And then we realized, we thought this was a drill because they said they'll use blanks in a drill, but they actually didn't. It was real. No, one teacher's dead. That's what there's 2 security guards who are dead. The teacher's dead, and then my other teacher, she got shot in the arm, but she's fine. She just started walking home too. Let's go.
We're now learning more about the timeline of Cruz's murderous rampage. He arrived at the high school in an Uber at 2:19 p.m. and made his way into the east building of the school compound. Cruz fired into 4 classrooms on the first floor. Then he made his way to the second floor, then the third. At 2:28, he dropped his weapon, ran down the stairs, and fled the school, where he was spotted by freshman Chris McKenna.
He started to take the bullets and load in the gun. I froze. He then said to me, "Get out of here. It's gonna start getting messy." On the stairwell, the bottom stairwell, he took it out of like a gun case that kind of looked like a guitar case.
And I came back to my classroom and I knocked on the door and the fire alarm went off, and principal came on the speaker and just said, everyone needs to evacuate right now. So that's what we did. As I was going down the stairs, I heard a couple shots fired. Everyone was freaking out, saying that it was a gun. And as we were walking, the whole class together, I actually was speaking to the suspect, Nikolas Cruz. And as I was speaking to him, he seemed very, I don't know what the word I want to say is, but he was trouble in middle school, so I kind of joked to him about it and said, "I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it." And he just gave me a huh. So that's really what happened.
You were walking down the hall. He had already fired at that time.
Yes, sir, with him.
Weren't you scared?
In the moment I wasn't, because there was definitely another shooter involved, but...
Oh, you think he was not the only one?
No, definitely not.
Why do you say that?
Because when shots were fired, I saw him after the fact. So, and the shots were coming from the other part of the building. So there definitely had to be 2 shooters involved, I believe.
That's the first I've heard of that. Did you see any other students who were wounded?
No, sir.
All the kids to go outside so they could start shooting up. So they started shooting from the first floor up, because there's only 2 exits in the freshman building, so everybody started running to the other exits, but that's when the other shooter started coming up. So everybody, and then I thank God to this teacher who opened up her door and let all of us in. She got shot in the arm trying to open the door, and then the other teacher, he got shot in the head trying to cut the other students, and it was like an hour, it felt like years waiting for them. And then after all that, we finally got out, and they started yelling at us to keep focused and pay attention ahead, the army people, because they didn't want us to see the bodies that they hid in the corner. They were putting mats over them so we wouldn't see them, but there was dust all over the floor from this weird thing they threw in there. They were trying to.
So you think there was more than? Do you think there was more than one shooter?
There's 3 shooters. That's what I hear. Definitely.
How terrifying. Hold on one second now. How terrifying.
It was pretty damn terrifying, because they were putting us through drills, and we all thought this was a drill. We thought this was a drill, but it wasn't. And then we just started hearing the gunshots, and it was really terrifying because my class, the class that I ran into, he started shooting through the door, and he came through and he started shooting the cabinets, and that's when he shot the teacher. And then he ran back outside to shoot the other teacher who was closing the other door for the kids, but he didn't get to close the door, and he was just there. And so we were all just sushing each other, like, shut up, just suck it up if you're crying, because we're not trying to get shot. Because he was in the hallway yelling, hey, trying to taunt us and get us to say things, trying to get us outside. And that's when some other kid, like, he ran out because he thought it was free, but he got shot, and then we heard the groaning outside, and we couldn't do anything.
Well, so the shooter, tell me, besides, hey, what was he saying during
He
all
wasn't
this?
doing anything. He was legit. He just ran up the stairs, started shooting, and you could see a bunch of kids just going down that way, but stopping. But because the other shooter was coming, so everybody was
screaming and stuff.
Everybody was trampling each other because they were like, "Hey, do you hear that loud banging sound?" And we all thought it was like some kid joking on the stairwell because they're hollow, so you could just hit a stick and it sounds like it. But then we all were like, "Oh, this is real!" So we all just started running. It was really bad.
Now, one student told me that the shooter was wearing a bulletproof vest and a helmet. Did you see that?
I saw some other kid. When the other kid who came into the classroom, he was wearing some type of thing, and like, I don't know, but it was like I froze at that moment because you never know, because when the gun is like pointed towards you and the thing, you don't know what to do, and you kind of just like pause and you're just like, is this actually gonna happen? But I felt like he was going after all the teachers because a bunch of teachers got shot, and any of the kids who were in the way, they got shot.
This mom and her son survived separate mass shootings just 13 months apart.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
The massacre at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School hit home for this mother of two. It's hard to believe, but last January, Annika found herself running for her life when a crazed gunman opened fire at the Fort Lauderdale Airport baggage claim, killing 5. We spoke with Annika back then.
I saw the shooter. He was coming towards us, shooting. I laid down and I just instantly began praying.
The images from both shootings are eerily similar. The innocent fleeing with their hands in the air.
What are the chances that you would survive a mass shooting and then your son would survive?
I would hope very rare.
You guys are both part of JROTC?
Yes, sir. I'm a captain. I'm a company commander. I'm in charge of a whole class period, about 55, 60 kids. And we were out there for formation. I looked at my watch, it was 2:20, and I said, you know what, let's go in early. Sometimes I keep them out there all the way till the bell or just slightly before it, and I was like, let's just go in early today. I don't know why, but something in me just told me to go in early. I brought them in. 2 minutes into getting into the classroom, around 2:30, I hear the bell ring for the fire alarm, and we start heading out. I line all the kids up outside. I'm leading the line, and we're heading out. And it just so happens our fire zone was exactly where the shooter was. So I'm heading that way.
Did you see the shooter?
I did not see the shooter, but I heard the first 2 or 3 pops, and I knew it was gunshots. I looked back at all the kids behind me. There's 60 kids looking at me. What do I do? Where do I go? I just yell, get back in the classroom. Everyone starts sprinting back. They're trampling over each other. I start running. I see a kid in front of me almost fall, and I'm like, wait, slow down, take it slowly.
Yeah, I heard the 7 gunshots that I heard. You heard 7. You counted them specifically? 7. What did you do at that point? Did you also grab some students and say, hey, we're going to this classroom?
As soon as I heard the 7 gunshots, I reopened the door, and as I was taking a step, my first sergeant walked in the room and said, don't go. So I had turned around, I shut my door, pulled a student in, and I brought him into the other room, and I started getting people in. So at
that point, you guys are in the same space?
Yes.
In the hallway, you say you also saw assistant football coach Aaron Feiss.
Yes, sir. I saw him running towards the gunshots as soon as they had started to happen. I heard that he had used himself to shield other, I believe it was 3 females that were in the line of fire. He used his body to shield them. I'm glad that he didn't suffer that much. It's sad because it's not going to be the same without him at school anymore. That's for sure. Football definitely won't be the same. We're definitely going to have to band back together as brothers and mourn his loss and pick up the pieces to try to rebuild our football team.
Elena Petty was a member of the junior ROTC and is described by her family as someone who loved to serve others. Instead of running away from the violence, 15-year-old Peter Wang held the door open for his classmates.
How did you guys find the photo?
We started looking through the JRTC composites, and we found the picture of him, and we just started sending it out to law enforcement. Me, Colton, and our first sergeant, we all got on our phones and tried to get through. We all had pretty crappy service, but we sent the photo out to law enforcement, and we're pretty sure it helped them arrest him.
Well, basically, I was just in my biology class, right, and the drill went off, and we all thought it was a fire drill, so we started getting out, and then I heard some shots, and everybody started running. We just hid in the JRTC room, and we were all pretty scared, but it was a really scary situation. We didn't really know what was going on. I thought it was a drill at first, but...
Did you hear gunshots?
Yeah.
Wow. How many gunshots did you guys do? Was it like sporadic?
Gunshots. I just saw like people running all over the place. It was crazy.
That's such a scary situation. And you said you experienced something like this in
Last year, yes. I was in the middle of the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting, and so when he texted me on lockdown, he told me that there was a drill going on, a shooting drill, and I thought that's, you know, really interesting because I didn't know that they did drills with students. And then a minute later, he told me it wasn't a drill, it was an active shooter, and my heart just sank.
Wow.
And he said he was scared, and you know, then he calmed down. He told me that people were running and crying and screaming, but then he calmed down and he told me not to worry and not to go to the school. But it was really scary.
I was in the 500 building, so there's the main courtyard. It's a 4 square surrounded by building courtyard, and then behind the 700 building, which is the building next to mine, is where the horrific accident had happened. So at about 2:20, the fire alarm was pulled. So I thought at first either culinary had set off some sort of smoke detector and we're going to evacuate, or that this was another drill that we had this morning, and we were just going to go from there. At first, it sounded like firecrackers because we had been planning for an event to happen, something like a staged area where we're going to do an active shooter scenario. So the first 7 gunshots that I originally had heard just sounded like firecrackers because they were so far away and it echoed through a hallway. But as more shots came in, I realized that it wasn't firecrackers, it was actually an armed shooter, and this wasn't a drill.
When everybody realized that and he started coming up the stairs, everybody started running back to their room. There was like a stampede of people just sprinting back to their rooms. We were all waiting at the door, and he comes over and he unlocks the door, and we all get in. And I see this figure come up the stairs with this pistol, and I guess that was him.
I think he liked ROTC, and instantly I was like, yeah, I know about it, Nikolas Cruz, because I know him by name, I know him by face, he was in my company. I asked him, you know, what can I do to make you wear your uniform and participate in the program? And he asked for a candy bar, funny enough. That's all he asked for. I think it was Snickers or something like that. So I went out of the store, I bought him it, and the next day, there on after, came in with the uniform every day.
As soon as I heard the gunfire, I knew it was gunfire.
Dean, an art teacher, survived the Fort Lauderdale airport shooting.
The moments that I have with my kids, you know, they may not have been, and I'm just grateful. There's a school shooting drill going on. It's really scary. They got a gun and fired it. Everyone was running and screaming. And then a minute later, he said, it's not a drill. It's incredibly rare. My brother said yesterday, you're either one of the luckiest people on the planet or you're one of the unluckiest.
Even recently, we were at the airport and something was happening at the airport, and the police were running and scrambling at the Fort Lauderdale airport after that shooting. And my first initial reaction was, where can I hide? Where can I go? I saw a cabinet. We were by baggage claim, and my husband was going to get the bags, and he was acting like it was a normal day, and I was just watching all of the police officers running, and that's where my head went. Where can I go and hide? And we just recently, I work for Broward County Schools, and I'm a teacher for the elementary school in Coral Springs, one of them, and we just had the active shooting training at our school.
So Carly, I understand that you're headed to college next year. And I understand you want to be a journalist. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. And so I at first I was kind of in shock, and it's been going on and off. Like, I at some points I feel numb, and other points I'm like feeling everything. So it's just a lot right now. Like, it was Valentine's Day, like, and then it was just the worst day ever. Like, there's no other way to put it.
It was like about 20 minutes before school was supposed to end. It's really different when you see something in the news, and rather than seeing it happen at your school. I am upset, but I'm like using that to talk about gun control and to talk about like what happened.